There are honestly probably so many different things that could be added to this video to explain how a woman can be a unicorn. I'm only going to talk about one thing though. When you hear what it is that I've picked out, you're probably going to have one of three different reactions. The first one being, oh, duh, I didn't know that was anything special. The second one being, oh, I had no idea. How do I learn to do that? How do I embody that? And the third type of reaction that I would expect is them kicking and screaming, yelling that I don't know what I'm talking about. Who am I? And they'll probably angrily click off this video, which is fine because this video is not really for them anyways. The answer is so simple, but it really depends on your mindset. Your mindset is going to determine what your reaction is, how open you are to the concept, and whether or not you're going to embrace it. And it's just accountability. That's all it is. And I say it depends on your mindset because those with a victim mindset are not going to embrace accountability well at all because they have to be the victim. This topic came into my head recently because I have been told a lot lately by my husband, by my friends who are guys, and by other people just who have had very short interactions with me that where they've even made a comment where they say it's rare to see a woman who has a sense of accountability. And they say that I have it, which I take that as a very huge compliment because it's true. As someone who has been going through life actively trying to find female friends for like the last 10 years, and I've been trying to find the really good ride or die, always got my back, wanting to change and grow and be the best version of themselves type of friends. Every time I have found somebody, and, on the surface level, the initial interactions, it seemed like, oh, this person could be someone I could be friends with. This is someone who seems like they have the same standards as I do, the same morals as I do. My track record is pretty shitty, to be honest. I have only found one female friend in the past 10 years that truly have the same sense of accountability, who has the same standards and morals as me. And that is my best friend. And we're going on 10 years of friendship this year. No relationship is perfect. No friendship is perfect. At some point, there's going to be some sort of conflict, whether it's between you two or something that's going on in their life, and maybe they tell you about it. There's going to be some sort of conflict involved. That moment of conflict has been the eye opener for me in every attempted friendship that I've had in the past. Because in that moment of conflict, when they tell me what's going on, I would hear them out. We would do a little brainstorming of like what they should do, run the pros and con list. More or less, we would figure out, hey, you should do this, or, you're not at fault, but this is how you need to move on. We would come to an agreement of some sort of resolution. And without fail, every single one of those female friendships has failed because I realized that they weren't willing to take accountability, whether it was taking accountability with me if we had a conflict, or whether it was taking accountability for themselves in whatever was going on in their life. And I made a video recently talking about how I refuse to bring myself down, to lower my standards due to someone else's actions. And basically, that's what happened. I chose myself in each and every one of those relationships. I chose to be selfish because they always showed their true colors, that they were refusing to take responsibility for whatever their part was in the situation. They were refusing to take accountability for how they could move forward with their lives past the situation, how they could take ownership of whatever happened. And I just couldn't do it. And I didn't realize this pattern initially. That's the funny part. I was having a conversation with my husband and the guys, and accountability came up. And my husband would tell them that he had basically never met a female before me that would ever take accountability. And I'm not saying I was always like this, because I definitely had a period of time where I felt at the victim mindset. But after that point, after I matured, pulled myself out of that mindset, as my husband and I grew our relationship and matured ourselves, he was telling the guys that he could call me out for doing something wrong, for making a poor decision, for not thinking something through. And yeah, I still have my moments, honestly, But the end result is me always saying, yeah, you're right. I did that. I didn't think it through. I made a wrong call. I made a mistake. I'm sorry. It goes for him too. And that's what makes our relationship work because we call each other out and we both hold ourselves accountable and we hold each other accountable. And our friends have made comments about that to me, how I've apologized when I felt like I did something wrong. You know, if I wasn't thinking and I said something wrong or something stupid, they've literally said, like, yeah, I've never had a girl apologize to me before. When I started having that conversation with the guys and my husband, I was just like, I understood everything that they were talking about. Our two guy friends are single. I understood their perspective of what they were complaining about in the relationships and trying to find somebody to date in this day and age. And my husband pointed out, this is why you struggle to have female friends because you expect them to take accountability for their actions. You expect them to take accountability of their life moving forward, and they don't. And when he said that, it just made everything click in my head. I was like, oh my God, you're right. He's just right. That's all there is to it. I do feel like there is a small amount of blame that can be put on society as to why women lack accountability. There's the stereotypes of boys are being raised one way, girls are raised another way, rather than instilling the same morals and standards in both of them. Because whether you're a little boy or a little girl, when we all grow up and we're all adults, we should all have these standards and we should all have these morals. But for some reason, when we raise our children, there's this belief of like daddy's little girl and boys being raised to be, you know, they can't show emotion. They have to be tough. They have to be hardcore and stuff like that. I do think there is a very small bit of blame that can be placed there. But again, this is about accountability. That means most of the blame is still within yourself as the individual, because once you become aware, you can decide to take accountability in your life and live your life in that manner moving forward. I am curious to see what kind of response this video could get because I'm not trying to blame women for not having accountability. Because if you are in the victim mindset, or if you were raised a certain way and you were never challenged, you were never corrected, it does take time to have your eyes opened. It really does. And it takes time to adjust to the change and to develop the self-awareness so that you can grow and so that you can embrace these changes in your life. Recently, I came across this video on YouTube that was promoting one of my videos, and I was just absolutely disgusted by the video because it was basically, it was geared towards men and it was geared towards bashing women, you know, blaming them for all of their faults. Oh, they don't want, you know, calling women gold diggers, calling women selfish, calling women just playing games. They don't want the nice guy, you know, one of those kinds of videos. Now, on the flip side, I know there are plenty of videos out there where it promotes women hating on men. So I'm not saying one or the other are right. I'm saying both are wrong. And this one in particular really disgusted me because some of the comments I was seeing, while I agree with some of the comments, because I did see one where this guy said, I have never had a female partner ever apologize to me. Talking to my dad, he said he's never heard the words, I'm sorry, from my mom. I agree with that. I do think there is a lack of accountability in women as a whole. And I think that's a problem. The other comments, it was just your typical, like, oh, you're one of those types of guys kind of comments. So we're not going to get into that because they weren't relevant at all. But I did see those comments that were just like, I've never had a woman say, I'm sorry. I've never had a woman take accountability for their actions. I've always had girlfriends that would blame others, and it was never her fault as to why she chose to do the wrong thing or the bad thing. And, you know, that kind of stuff. And I'm sorry, but I agree with it because it's true. I've had to experience it myself in other women, the lack of accountability, because it affected our friendship. And again, it goes both ways. I can talk about how there's plenty of men these days that don't have accountability, but guess what? I am not a man, so I cannot truly speak from a man's perspective. That is why I'm going this route. My husband and I do have this conversation quite frequently, and I do wonder if maybe we should do another video together on my channel where we talk about maybe accountability between men and women in general. But if you haven't seen our other video where we talked about our relationship and some important lessons we've learned and how we have stayed together for so long, um, 13 years together this year, he likes to talk a lot. So I don't know about that. I am very curious to see how well this video is going to do, if it does well at all, and what kind of reaction it gets. Because, like I said, are you going to have reaction 1, 2, or 3? But I guess I just have to hope the algorithm pushes it out to the right people.